We know that ICE is committing unjustifiable amounts of constitutional violations across the country, entering people's homes without a warrant, committing unjustifiable violence. But now the Trump administration thinks that it doesn't need a warrant to figure out who you are online. No courtrooms, no probable cause, just a secret demand to your tech company, and your anonymity is completely gone. This is happening right now in the United States. And the Trump administration realizes if it can't outright ban speech, it will make everybody as afraid as possible to speak out. My name is Mason. I'm a progressive live streamer known as One Hand Politics, and I partner with Courier to bring you the most pressing news of the day. Today, we are talking about how the Department of Homeland Security is trying to force tech companies to hand over private data on Trump critics. These aren't terrorists or violent people or criminals. These are people criticizing the government. And they're doing it through a method that most Americans have never heard of: administrative subpoenas. Administrative subpoenas are the preferred method because you don't need probable cause to issue one. No federal agent has to go in front of a judge, and they can be done entirely in secret. And with that information, DHS can get access to your IP address, physical location, login times, email, phone number, government, and financial information. And you might not even know it happened until your data is already gone. No warrant, no judge, no notice, just them wanting to take your personal information. Most of the individuals on the receiving end of these administrative subpoenas are activists and organizers, journalists, retirees who have sent critical emails, protesters criticizing Trump's actions, and anonymous Instagram accounts that are documenting ICE raids. You don't have to commit a crime. You just have to speak up loud enough to get one of these administrative subpoenas targeted towards you. One of the most explicit examples of this is the Mont Co-Watch case, where DHS tried to force Meta to unmask an anonymous account sharing immigrant rights information and ICE activity. The justification was a vague, unverified claim that ICE was being stalked. No evidence, no charges, and as soon as the ACLU stepped in to defend the account, suddenly the DHS backed off. No explanation or accountability. They folded when the lawyer showed up. This is an article from TechCrunch that reports that the ACLU called the subpoena part of a broader strategy to intimidate people who document immigration activity or criticize government actions. Bloomberg reported the effort to unmask the Mont Co-Watch account was not an isolated event, referencing at least four other cases where Homeland Security officials used administrative subpoenas in efforts to identify people running Instagram accounts publishing content critical of the government. Those subpoenas were also withdrawn after the account owners sued to block the attempt. Tech companies have in recent years published the transparency reports that detail how many government demands for data they receive, but most do not break out how many judicial and administrative subpoenas they receive over a period of time, even though the two kinds of demands are fundamentally different. When asked by TechCrunch, Meta spokesperson Francis Brennan did not say if Meta provided Homeland Security any data involving Mont Co-Watch or if the company was asked to provide information about the account another way. A new report by the Washington Post on Tuesday found that an administrative subpoena was also used to seek information from Google about an American retiree within hours of him after sending a critical email to the Homeland Security's lead attorney, Joseph Dernbach. The retiree's home was later visited by federal agents inquiring about the email. The Post described the retiree as someone critical of Trump during his first term, who attended a No Kings rally last year, regularly attends gatherings and protests, and wrote criticisms to lawmakers, all actions protected under the First Amendment. That is insane. You should be able to write an email to somebody within the government without having federal agents come to you, as long as you're not calling for violence towards those people. Of course, with that caveat. You have the right to criticize your own government. That's what federalism is supposed to protect, is your freedom of speech to criticize your local, state, or federal officials. The subpoena demanded to know the day, time, and duration of all of his online sessions, his IP address and physical address, and a list of each service he used, and any other usernames or identifiable information relating to his account, such as his credit card, driver's license, and social security numbers. 2 weeks later, Homeland Security agents were on his doorstep asking him questions about the email that he sent to Dernbach, which the agents conceded broke no laws. They're openly saying, you're not breaking laws, but we want to identify who you are so we can track you. Did anyone forget about this clip that came out of Maine where an ICE agent bragged about adding a protester to a database for filming ICE's actions?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
First of all, shout out that woman for openly laughing in the federal agent's face. We need to ridicule ICE agents more. We need to take seriously how much they're infringing on our rights, but these people need to be laughed away. They need to quit their jobs, and we should do that however we can. But look at how gleefully and proudly he's talking about removing people's freedom of speech. Just because you were filming a federal agent as they are kidnapping one of your neighbors, you should not be put in a database or documented for having an opinion that's different than the federal government. That is a bedrock of American democracy, and we should be able to protect that regardless of who's in control of the White House. Here's the part that people really need to understand. We know what the surveillance model looks like because it's been studied extensively for years. Independent investigators and journalists have documented how the Israeli Defense Forces and Israeli intelligence have pioneered a system of preemptive surveillance that doesn't focus on arrests. It all starts with data. This is metadata on people, anonymous accounts, social networks, who criticizes power, and who they are speaking to. According to Citizen Lab, this model focuses on collecting personal data first, not primarily to prosecute crimes, but to deter dissent before it spreads to other people. You don't need arrests when surveillance does the job. Both Citizen Lab and Amnesty International have documented how Pegasus spyware, which was developed by NSO Group and largely staffed by elite Israeli surveillance veterans, was marketed as a counterterrorism tool, but was repeatedly used to spy on journalists, monitor activists, track critics of the state, and create fear through invisibility. Again, these are no warrants, these are no arrests. They are just surveillance that's sold as safety and used to control people. Amnesty International Security Lab has performed in depth forensic analysis of numerous mobile devices from human rights defenders and journalists across the world. This research has uncovered widespread, persistent, and ongoing unlawful surveillance and human rights abuses perpetrated using NSO Group's Pegasus spyware. As laid out in the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, NSO Group should urgently take proactive steps to ensure that it does not cause or contribute to human rights abuses within its global operations, and to respond to any human rights abuses when they do occur. In order to meet their responsibility, NSO Group must carry out adequate human rights due diligence and take steps to ensure that HRDs and journalists do not continue to become targets of unlawful surveillance. HRDs is human rights defenders. This is insane. DHS is doing these administrative subpoenas that follow the exact same logic that's documented by Citizen Lab and Amnesty International. You don't need probable cause, apparently, or a judge. You just need access to people's personal and private data. Once the government knows that, they know who runs an account, they know where you live, they know who you communicate with. You don't even have to act. People self censor, the movement is starting to shrink, and fear does that censorship for you. People are watching their government commit numerous unconstitutional acts, killing people in the street, kidnapping their neighbors, and covering it all up without cooperating with any state or local law enforcement. This is why people need to be anonymous online. If you are criticizing the state and you view the state as repressive and you recognize that the state is punishing those that are dissenters against the state's actions, of course you want to remain anonymous for your own privacy, your own safety, and the safety of your family and your loved ones. This is how democratic backsliding actually happens. It's not with people getting smashed by tanks. It's not with immediate military action in every community. It is with secret subpoenas, silent data transfers, and people slowly deciding that it is safer to be quiet than speak out against injustice. Democracy doesn't die because speech is outright abolished. It dies when anonymity feels unsafe.